Okay, cool, cool. Let's jump right into it. Yeah, I remember when we first trained back in the early 90s, when we were in school, we were literally sweating before we actually took the court. So there was a little bit more preparation leading up, which we call the warm up, warming our muscles up to get ready to go. Nowadays, you walk into a gym, it doesn't matter what it is, kids kind of do a little something and then they're off playing. Okay, so is there a difference between static and dynamic stretching?
Well,
How should one warm up?
yeah, for sure. That's a really good question. I think with anything, it's important to have a system. No matter what that system is, have a system. So I don't want to say that one is better than the other. It depends on what you're doing. If static stretching alone is what you're doing to prepare for competition, I think you're missing a few elements. You're not really doing much. I know there's I think it's a bit of a psychosomatic effect where I think just because you can see my upper body, like doing the cross body stretch and the upper body stretch, I think that it feels like something's getting loose, but you're really not doing anything to the muscle fibers. With any type of a warm up, you want to make sure that you're increasing blood flow, you're increasing body temperature, and that you are preparing the body to move.
Okay.
In terms of mobility, I'm not a huge proponent of increasing mobility before you're training, whether that's skill specific, whether you're going to practice volleyball, golf, whatever it is, because you're going to start to get into end ranges that your body's not comfortable in, so you're not really going to get any benefit out of that. Mobility should be its own training, whether it's after your strength training workout or after your sport workout.
And when you say mobility, what do you mean by mobility?
So what I'm talking about mobility is actually increasing range of motion. Okay. So if you have, say, 20 degrees of internal hip rotation, you don't want to go out and try to get 30 degrees and then as part of your warm up and then go lift, because your body just doesn't know how to control that new end range.
Okay.
There's certainly a time and place for it, but before competition, before practice, before lifting is probably not the best time. In terms of dynamic stretching, now we're talking about increasing tissue temperature, increasing blood flow, increasing heart rate. So that I think is a more appropriate form of warm up, because now you're actually preparing your body to move. Okay. So I think a system that's really good, Mike Boyle introduced, you can foam roll, static stretch, then dynamic move. Or you can foam roll, then static, then dynamic. Or you can just foam roll. For me, I'll foam roll, I'll do a dynamic stretch, and then I'm in my training. So I think the other part of warm up too is it should be germane to what you're about to do. If you're deadlifting that day, you should probably be doing some type of warm up that includes warming up your hamstrings, getting your glutes activated, doing some hinges, glute bridges, things like that. If you're squatting, you should certainly be warming up your hips. You should be getting some hip flexor movement. You should be getting some rotation. Any type of core movement or core stability is going to be good if you're doing an upper body. I think crawling is good. Shoulder range of motion, shoulder stability. Everything should be appropriate to what your activity is that day. So, I think for a lot of my volleyball athletes, we'll do a number of different compound dynamic stretches, and then we'll go into some skipping, we'll go into crawling, we'll use mini bands for glute activation, and then, our warm-ups will mimic or at least reflect what we're going to be focusing on that day.
Okay. Now, Mitch, quick, are you still there? You froze up on that. Are you able to hear me?
Yeah, I can now.
Okay, cool. I'm having some little bit of internet issues, but we'll plug through it. Now,
all good.
Question for you.
Yeah.
Say you're going into a volleyball practice and you're warming it, and you're ready to warm your team up.
Yep.
How long should that warm up be?
I mean, I think everybody is different. I think if you and I were to try to warm up versus our high school kids, I think it's a little bit longer.
That's true.
Um, I think it's enough to, they should be sweating pretty good. I'm a little bit different in my warm up with my volleyball teams when I'm coaching. We'll do world's greatest stretch. We'll do some side lunges. We'll do single leg deadlifts. We'll do glute bridges. We'll do bird dogs, inchworms. So, we've got we still have a lot of the same principles going in. As soon as we get done with our dynamic stretching, though, we do have a skill-specific warm-up where we start getting into more volleyball-specific movement patterns. So we have 3 types of shuffle footwork, or 3 types of passing and pass-to-attack footwork with our outside hitters. So we'll have them actually go through their movements. So they'll practice their footwork for pass to attack. For a higher pass, it would be a pass and a shuffle 3 to attack. If they don't pass, they have a pass shuffle 5 or no pass shuffle 5 to attack. Then they're going to do their transition footwork. They'll do some blocking footwork and blocking moves. And while they're doing this, they're ramping up the intensity of it. And the same thing goes position by position. So our setters will work on their footwork. Our middle blockers will work on their blocking and transition and attack footwork. Our defensive specialists will be going through their floor movements. So now we're starting to get in a little bit more skill work, which I think helps reinforce a lot of our movement patterns, but also saves time in practice where I'm having to not have to worry too much about small technical instruction. We've already taken care of it in a warm-up.